Alright guys, ZFR Gaming back here, and in this video we're going to be reviewing Fallout 4 Nuka World. Now, before I get into this review, just let me say, I know this is coming out really late. Like, I know the DLC released a while ago, not too long ago, but long enough. And I know I even beat it like almost a week ago on the channel. So yeah, this review is kind of late, but whatever, better late than never, I always say. And plus it's giving me time to reflect on everything and play a little bit more of it. So yeah, at the end of the day, it's a good thing. So pretty much Fallout 4 Nuka World, like I said, I beat it recently. I got to check out some of the other stuff that was in the DLC and all of that, like, and I might do some more stuff with it on the channel. We'll have to wait and see. But overall, I'm going to say this wasn't a bad DLC, but it does have a few flaws here and there. Now, just to let you guys know ahead of time, I actually have created a new review guideline. I'm not going to go over what it contains exactly right now, but maybe at some point in the future, maybe I'll start putting at the end of all my reviews or whatever. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into this review. Let's start off by talking about the story in Fallout 4 Nuka World. So, the story in this DLC was not horrible. It was somewhat interesting, but at the same time, I don't think it was anything insanely special. Like, pretty much your character gets tricked into going to Nuka World, where they end up being put in a position where they have to fight to the death with the leader of who pretty much controls Nuka World, but he's a raider, and he's pretty much the leader of these 3 gangs in Nuka World. And you kill him and you pretty much take control of the gangs, which is pretty insane, because you just get there and you're already running the park. So right away there's a lot of potential this DLC has, but it kind of does fall flat later on, and I'll get to that. So pretty much there's going to be a decent amount of new characters you meet in this DLC. For the most part the gang leaders, like for instance, what was his name, Mason, Mags, William, Nissa, like all of them, you'll meet characters like that. You'll meet a few other characters along the way, such as Cito, and then there's of course the new companion, the new raider companion, Gades. So yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff going on there with the story, and let me just say, Gades actually is a good companion. Like, I will say that he actually is a pretty decent companion. His backstory is cool and all that. And I can't remember what his perk is, but from what I heard of it, I hear people saying it's a pretty good perk, so that should be awesome to check out. The story overall, I won't say, it doesn't really trigger that many emotions. I guess it can once you get towards a certain point, but it's not really an emotional story, and you'll see why in a second. Because for the most part, you're the leader of a raider gang in this DLC, so like, the raiders are ruthless, they're evil. Like, there's not going to be much sympathy for them or anything that happens to them. So yeah, like, for the most part, not really emotional story or anything, but the structure of the story and stuff, it kind of has a weird structure. I'll get into this. Like, this is something that I didn't exactly like about the DLC, but just let me kind of get to that as we go through. So I'll come back to that once we get to the setting, because it has a lot to do with the setting. Alright, so as for the graphics, normal Fallout graphics, I mean, come on, we're not even going to talk about that. But anyway, back to this whole structure thing. So the setting, pretty much like I said, Nuka World is an amusement park based off of Nuka-Cola, the drink in the game and stuff. Let me just say, I really do love the look of Nuka World. I love the fact that there's this huge amusement park with all these different sections. You can go to like the ball capping plant, and then they have like the safari adventure with all the cages and stuff in there. It's like a zoo, and Then the Galactic Zone, which was like a little I don't know, space walking thing or whatever. Like, you know, there's a lot of cool stuff going on in the DLC. There's a lot of interesting locations. It's more than just your typical wasteland. There's variety there in the environment, but at the same time, I don't like the way it was kind of this was kind of main, like they managed to make it to where this was kind of what they worked the main story into. Like pretty much you have to take over a lot of places in Nuka World, or you have to take over all the locations just about, and that's, for the most part, that's the main story, or that's at least half of the main story for the DLC. And there's a lot of interesting stuff that happens that in these places and stuff, which definitely does add to it, but at the same time, it kind of feels like there was no solid middle storyline, like where it just goes straight down instead of branching off in all these different sections. You know, it feels like what's the word I'm looking for? It feels like there wasn't I can't think of the word. There wasn't like a stem for all these branches, if that makes any sense, or there wasn't like a tree trunk to hold up these branches, in my opinion. But like I said, they're all really interesting, so it's still a lot of fun at the end of the day either way. But yeah, for the setting, for the most part, the setting is really cool. I enjoyed it. So yeah, no problem with that. Now, usually I would go over the combat on this part of the video, but I mean, come on, it's Fallout. We've all played it before, or at least you guys all have seen me play it before. Obviously, the combat in Fallout isn't bad. It's not the best in the world. There are some issues with it, or some things I think they definitely can do better with it. But at the end of the day, it's not bad combat at all. Like, it's pretty darn good, actually. So, yeah, for the combat, no big problem. It's pretty much good. I would put it a little bit above average. It's fun combat. So yeah, moving on to the next section, which is actually a really important section, especially when it comes to DLC's variety. Like, that's the whole point of DLC, to like add more variety to the game, to add more stuff into the game, you know. And Nuka World actually does a really good job with variety, as I've already said. For the first part, it actually does add in like a lot of new weapons and outfits and stuff. So if you're a cosmetic person, there's a lot of that stuff for you, or if you just want to try out some new crazy guns from Fallout, there's a lot of that to be seen in this DLC, so that's really awesome. As for enemy types, I loved a lot of enemies I ran into in Nuka World. There were so many different new, like there were so many new enemies that were just cool. Like there were all of the new mutants, like the Gator Claw, the I forget what it's called, but it's pretty much like it's like an offensive version of the Brahmin from the main game, which are the two-headed cows. And then there's the Nuka Lurks instead of Mirelurks and all that, which weren't too different, but you know, cool colors, I guess, or whatever. And I mean, there was just a lot. There were a good amount of different enemies, a lot of robots and stuff. And then the raider gangs, like, you know, if you went down that route of eventually fighting one of them, like they're all pretty cool. Like, and the raider gear, like, let me just say, the raider gear and outfits from this DLC are freaking awesome. I love them. And they added an AK-47, which is all bonus points for me. Like, you can never go wrong with an AK-47 in a game. Just throwing that out there. Classic gun. But anyway, and yeah, as for the story, is there any real variety in the story? Is the story that much more interesting than Fallout 4's main story? Is it even worth adding on to the game? And my answer to this is yes. I do think Fallout 4 Nuka World story is a really good addition to the game, mostly because it's really the best evil. It's like the best evil path you have in the game. It's like the only path that is 100% evil in the game. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Institute is pretty evil too, but you know, at the end of the day, they kind of believe they are doing it for the greater good and all of that. But like with the Raiders, like they're just selfish, like they're just out for themselves. They don't care how evil or how not evil it is. You know, it doesn't matter to them. So yeah, like at the end of the day, I do really like that. Like this DLC is going to be really great for people who are trying to build more evil characters, such as Negan, like how I have the Negan build and all that for The Walking Dead and stuff like that, and some other character builds I'm going to have coming up soon. And of course, like it's just really awesome. I will say though, when it does come to variety, this DLC doesn't have much variety when it comes to you playing the part of the good guy. Like there's not too much. There is some, like you can definitely do it in this DLC, and I did like that, but there's not much of it. So yeah, for the most part though, this DLC adds a pretty big chunk of variety to the game. In my opinion, even more variety than Far Harbor did. Like Far Harbor was a okay DLC, but at the end of the day, I do think this DLC added way more variety to the game and definitely contributed to the game a lot more than Far Harbor did. And definitely more than Automatron. Listen, Automatron, I'm sorry, that DLC in my opinion was kinda trash. Just throwing that out there for anybody who hasn't played that. Like, if you didn't see my review yet, that DLC to me was kind of trash. Like, but anyway, as for the problems, you know, typical Fallout problems, there were a lot of glitches. Well, not a lot, but there definitely were a few glitches here and there. There were a few times the game crashed, but that's just typical Fallout problems. You know, it's not anything serious with the DLC. I will say, I didn't like the fact that, and I guess this could be spoilers, but not really, because I mean, you really won't know which one it's going to be for you until you actually play throughout the DLC and make your own choices. But pretty much, there's no way to get all three of the gangs on each other's side. I thought that would have been a really good choice, and like I said, they could have done a little bit more to, I don't know, make it where you can pick a good role in this DLC. Like I said, there's definitely a good path you can take, but it's kind of just like one missing in the whole DLC that kind of will qualify as a good path. I think they could have probably given you a few more options than that. They probably could have gave you, I don't know, threw in like extra couple missions that add on to that storyline through the story or whatever. You know, just have a branching path that's actually a path instead of like a single mission. And at the end of the day, unless you pick the evil ending, you can't pick a good ending and gain and still have control of Nuka World. I think that would have been a really awesome way to go about, but that's not what they did. And I just remembered this video has to be less than 15 minutes, so let's hurry this up and get to the end. But anyway, guys, Fallout 4 Nuka World is an awesome DLC. It's not the best DLC to ever be created or anything. For me, that's still Witcher 3 Blood and Wine. Like, that DLC is amazing. But yeah, Fallout 4 Nuka World is still pretty awesome, and that's why my score for it is a 7.5. Now, I do recommend the DLC if you haven't played it, or if you're a fan of Fallout, I do recommend it because it really is a fun DLC at the end of the day. But like I said, it's not really worth dumping like your last couple of bucks on or anything like that. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to leave likes and comments down below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you really enjoyed, and I will see you guys on the next video. ZFR out, guys.